Hey guys, welcome back. This is the engine from the John Deere lawn tractor that I did the engine swap in the other video that you saw recently. So what I'm going to do today is take this whole engine apart, show you what's happened and why it blew up. And I'm also going to show you the parts that I will be saving from the engine and the parts that are going to go in the scrap. Now, if you're going to take one of these engines apart, make sure you have your impact ready with a 13mm socket and also a 10mm because you will need it quite a bit to take this engine apart. Okay, here's a close look at the engine. Even though it's branded John Deere, it is a Briggs engine. Now, this engine was run with hardly any oil in it. It only read to about here when this machine came in the shop, and that's why the engine blew. Technically, you should have oil right up in between these two little holes here where the serrated part is. So if you only have that much, something bad's going to happen. And here's what it did to the engine. It was harder to show you on the lawn tractor because everything's packed in, but look at the back of the engine block. You can see the connecting rod or something tried to poke out of there. Huge crack. I'm going to take this apart now, and I'm curious to see the exact damage that has happened. So I'm going to start with the 10mm socket on my impact. I'm going to take off the cover here. And by the way, I am saving all the hardware, which will go in a separate container. 2 bolts at the front. Now I'm going to remove the air filter. Sometimes these little knobs here, they all get seized inside there. There we go. Air filter still clean. Here's a tiny screw. It's a 1/4-inch head. Get that off. Now on this one here, the oil pump is not bolted on, so I'm just going to pry it out. I am saving this cover, so it will go in the cardboard box. All the parts I'm keeping are going in this box, all the scraps going over there. And I am going to save the fuel pump. It can be reused. Throw that in the box. And I'm going to save this fuel line over here as well, which I think is the impulse line for the fuel pump. Now the whole dipstick tube assembly will pop right out. That's definitely something I am saving. And I will disconnect it here. And I'm actually going to take this off when the flywheel's off so I can get the whole stator out of there at the same time. Now with a T40 Torx, I'll take off the 2 bolts that hold the starter. That's a bit tight. Got the 1/2-inch socket on the impact here. Now hopefully the impact with the Torx will do this bolt because it's kind of tight to get the 1/2-inch socket in there. Nope. Now you definitely want to save your starter if it's good. 8mm socket will get your coil off. Now you want to save the coil because they run between $80 and $100 here. And you just disconnect the wire here. Now you definitely want to save your carburetor because these OEM carbs from Briggs are about $260 here in Canada. So I'm going to take this off and I'll show you a little trick here so that when you put the carb away, it doesn't get all gummed up. So I'm going to get these 2 bolts off here. And I'm going to save this hose by just popping it out. Disconnect the solenoid here. It's so much quicker, guys, if you have an impact. If you don't, just use your ratchet and sockets. It'll work just as well. Now, since I may not be using this carb on another machine for a long time, I'm just going to take the bowl off and let it completely dry, and then put it back together and put it away like that. So as you can see, the carb is nice and clean, and it did work when the engine blew up. So I know it's going to be a good carb for another engine one day. And I'm just going to put this aside here, away from what I'm doing, let it dry. Once it's all dry, which can take about a day or half a day, I will put the carb back together and then put it away. Then I know when I go to use it, it's not all gummed up. A lot of people put carburetors away with gas in them, and then when they go to use them, they're all plugged up. Now, another good part to keep on these engines is the actual head itself, depending on what happened to the engine. So I'm going to take the head off, and hopefully it's worth keeping. So you'll need a 3/8 socket for this. There we go. Also, if the push rods are not bent, save those as well. So if I have a good look at this head here, it still looks good. I think I'm going to save that. I'm the one who broke the plug there earlier with the socket, no big deal. So yeah, this is worth keeping. These heads are quite expensive here in Canada. So sometimes you can get an engine in the shop, it's got a bad head, but if you have a good used one, you can save that engine. Now what I want to do here, since this engine was run low on oil, I'm just going to turn the flywheel and see the condition of the cylinder. Actually, it's seized. It's seized, and I managed to move the piston without the flywheel turning, so that tells you that the connecting rod is shot. Amazingly, the cylinder feels smooth, but you can't save this cylinder because it's all part of the block. It's all one piece. Have a look here. So the engine separates here, but the rest of it's all one piece. And now I'm going to remove the flywheel, and you just pop the cap off. It's very easy. And there's a huge bolt in here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to save all these pieces. Now to get the flywheel off, I'm just going to put the bolt back in. And I don't care about hitting this with a hammer because the rest of the engine is scrap. So, and I don't care if I wreck the bolt either. Now what I'm going to do is just put the pry bar under here and hit it here. If this wasn't a scrap engine, what I would do is put a puller that would bolt in here and take it out the professional way. This way here, I don't care, like I mentioned. It's a scrap engine. Also, if you're going to do it this way, make sure you're wearing safety glasses because you just never know. A small piece can go flying and get you right in the eye. So always be safe, guys. Okay, here we go. And it's loose. And this is a perfectly good flywheel. And I saved these flywheels because I've had to replace one for a customer one time. I didn't have any used ones. I had to order it from Briggs. It was retail $300 here. So as you can see here throughout the video, $300 for this. $200 to $300 for the carburetor. It just goes to show that at some point, depending on how bad your engine is, you're better off to buy an engine because that engine is about $700 to $900 here in Canada. But if you started buying all the parts separately, you're going to pay probably double what it would cost to just buy a new engine that's ready to be bolted inside your lawn tractor. But definitely, I'm saving this. And I'm going to save the stator as well. It's very rare that I need to replace a stator. The most common reason why I end up replacing stators is if all the magnets inside the flywheel came off and destroyed the stator. I have seen that before. I had a guy come in, the engine was seized, he thought it was junk. In actuality, it was the magnets that came off and totally seized inside here where the stator was. So to get the stator off, you'll need a 1/4 inch socket. And it just pops off like this very easily. Now this can be an expensive part as well, so definitely save it. Now at this point here, there's not that much left to get off. I'm just gonna get this cover here because it's kind of annoying. And now you'll need a 13mm socket to get all these sump cover bolts off. Now for the next step, make sure you've got your safety glasses. Now you'll notice I've got a brass hammer, that's so that I don't damage the parts as much. And I'm just going to basically tap the cover and you'll see it pop off. And I think, before I keep going here, there is still a bit of oil left, so I'm going to put a rag here. You can hear all the parts falling down. Okay, look at that. So I thought I had drained all the oil out of this machine, but I guess I didn't. Another part here, guys, that's definitely worth keeping is this, but it kind of looks like the decompressor got damaged. Yeah, it's a shame. Because this camshaft here in Canada is about $150 or more, probably more now. And it's a common failure in these Briggs engines. So what happens is if this little part here, the decompressor part on the camshaft, if this is broken or defective, it's going to be extremely hard to start your machine. You might adjust the valves because you think the valve lash is off and causing it to have too much compression. You adjust the valves, they're well adjusted, and it still makes no difference. Well, the culprit is this part here. And if it gets out of whack, you can barely start your engine. So that's too bad. All right, I'll try to get the crankshaft out of here, but it's pretty tight in there. I'm not saving the crankshaft, so I don't mind hitting it. There. Wow, look at this. Man, what a mess. What a mess. It's in a million pieces. Look at that. Jeez. There's not much to save here, guys. And actually, I'm not even saving the sump. You know what? I've got enough junk here. So basically, this whole block here will be going to scrap. The piston's still in there. And there's no connecting rod. It's all smashed. Look at that. I should have actually popped it through the top, but let's go like this. There we go. Look at that, eh? Look at how short the area where the piston rings go in on this piston. There's just not much room there. Look at that. Before, these pistons used to be filled out all on the exterior, Now they've kind of cheapened it to where it's just the top part that is the width of the cylinder. I bet you if I take an older engine apart, you would see major differences in the quality of these engines. So this is definitely scrap. And everything's broken. Look at the connecting rod. You know what? I've never seen one in so many pieces. That's crazy. Crazy. The only thing I'm going to save now is the oil drain tube. That just basically comes right off the sump cover. So to get this off, just grab yourself a pair of vice grips. Get that tube off. So here's another quick look here. Here's the sump cover. Damaged. I didn't notice that earlier. So it's just as well I'm not keeping it. So this is scrap. I just sent about 2 pickup truck fulls of scrap recently. So the scrap guy that comes, he's really happy. He actually separates all the metal, the aluminum or the white metal and the steel and copper and brass, whatever you want to call it. So he's got time, he makes a bit of money, and he's happy to just get it off my hands. Look at this, part of the connecting rod. And this part here, guys, I believe what this does is it kind of balances out the engine, makes it more smooth, and even this part broke off. And that's quite heavy actually. So that's going in the scrap bucket too. And I am not keeping the crankshaft. So that's going in the scrap bucket too. So I'm just left with a bunch of pieces here, all for the scrap bucket. Even the governor is all broken to shreds. Look at that. Here's the flywheel key. I'm going to save that. And here's the block. Not worth keeping, obviously. And that's going to scrap as well. I'm just going to drain the oil out of here first. Actually wipe it out with a rag. And you might want to wear some gloves before you do this kind of work. I should have worn gloves, but I actually put this stuff on my hands before I started this. And if you put this on your hands, guys, when you go to wash them, all the dirt comes off your hands very easily. Okay, got the table cleaned up. Going to show you what I'm keeping again. Carburetor. You can sell these for half price if you do repairs from what it would cost new. And it's actually an OEM carb, it's the better one. And in this box here, I've got the flywheel, I've got the cover for the top, the flywheel fan. This is good to keep. I've got the dipstick with the regulator on it. I've got the head, the push rods, the starter, that's a good one. So there's quite a bit of money here in just the used parts that I'm saving. So you could get at least $100 for the used carb. You could get at least 100 to 150 for the flywheel, the starter $50, the head $50. So there's several $100s of good used parts here that can actually make it worth fixing an engine. If you have to spend the money to buy all these new parts, oftentimes people won't fix them. But if you have good used parts that makes it worthwhile for the customer or for yourself, it'll just kind of save a machine instead of scrapping it. So that's it for today. All these parts, hopefully the video has helped you to decide what to keep when you scrap an engine or that you tear it down. And if you want to see more teardowns, guys, I mean, a lot of machines are get scrapped. It's just the nature of the business. And if you do like long videos, let me know, because I can start making more teardowns like this if you guys want to see more of these kinds of videos. That's not a problem. And if you have any questions about this engine, or if you're not sure what you should keep and if it's worth it, just comment in the video section, in the comment section. And if I don't get to your questions, somebody else will. And by the way, sometimes I can't get to all the questions. It doesn't mean they're not important. I just want to let you guys know that. So just keep commenting, like I said, and if I can't get to your questions, probably somebody else will, or just keep asking the question and eventually I'll see it and get to it. I don't get to see all the questions because some of them end up in the spam for some kind of reason or another, so that could be why I didn't get to your questions. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.